Hi, this is Jeff. Welcome to my channel if you're new, welcome back if you're not. This is another video in my series Discovering Kelowna. So I moved to Kelowna last summer and I set myself this project of seeing all 203 of the city's parks in 1 year. So it's going really well. I'm about halfway through, I'm past halfway through now, it's super exciting. Today we're going to be discovering the neighborhood of Kettle Valley. So this is a neighborhood that was created in the 90s as a well-planned community. The designers of this community eschewed the conventional golf course-oriented development in order to try their hand at new urbanism and to design a community built on neo-traditionalist values. A lot of the values that they're embracing in this design have to do with density, have to do with community building, and things that would be great for any community. And I understand it's about trying to find something that people feel has been lost. And also in a community like this that's very far south of downtown Kelowna, you know, the idea of building a community where people can, visit with their neighbors and shop locally and things like that is great. I'm looking forward to seeing the old-fashioned houses, the narrow streets, the other things that apparently they had to fight city council to get. So, and of course, I am looking forward to seeing the parks. There's a whole bunch of parks in here, some of them quite formal, quite Georgian in their layout. And I've never been here before, so even though I did a little bit of research, this is basically a reaction video. So we'll see what I can find and what I can show you. Hey, so here I am coming to you for my first park of the day. This is Curlew Park. So this is a rather large park, actually. It's not really a neighborhood park, although I guess it technically is. It's got a playground and a picnic table at one end. It has a huge playing field in the middle. But it is one of those parks that is adjacent to a school and there's no fence separating them. So, to the students, this is going to feel like part of their schoolyard. It almost doubles, if you think about it that way, it doubles the size of the schoolyard, which is lots of fun. Even though it has a nice big field in the middle, it does have some rolling hills around the edges with a lot of remnant pine forest left. So, I mean, that's great. That's a lot of places to run and play. It's next to Chute Lake Elementary. So that's the local elementary school for Kettle Valley. Kettle Valley was opened in 1996. Chute Lake Elementary was opened in 2009. So finally, I guess at that point, there were enough kids, there was enough budget, or whatever it was, to build this school. So this is not a finely manicured 18th century style park. This is, just a nice big neighborhood park with some trees and some grass and places for people to run around. There's a huge hill behind me. I don't know if you can see it, but lots of people have been sledding there. It looks like a great place. So it's a lot of fun. Curlew Park. Hey, so here I am coming to you for my second park of the day. This is the Kettle Valley Sports Field. So you can see behind me, there's a big field. And I believe it is used for soccer and various other things. Where I'm standing right now, there's a couple of stacked up soccer goals and some bleachers and things. So what I find interesting about this park, not just its size, this is really an enormous place, but is the fact that when they built this community 25 years ago, when they designed it, this was set aside as land for a middle school, and it was never really developed. The most developing it got was to put this sports field in, because of course they thought, well, we can just move that or redevelop that and put that somewhere else. So for now it can be a sports field, right? And a few years ago, the city decided that they wouldn't put the middle school here, that they would put it over in the pond, over to the northeast of here, near Gordon, closer to the Bellevue Creek, Crawford Canyon, that area, right? So then they have all this land, and so the developer said, oh good, now we can fill it with houses. That was in 2017, and the people around here said, no, we like this, undeveloped open space. We like having this park area. We like having the sports field. We don't necessarily want it to be just like solidly full of houses. So the city said no to the developer, and I don't know where that's at now, but there's no development going on in this big empty lot today. So it's hard to see what's going on with the snow, but I believe it's just a big, huge empty space that people can run and play and walk through and take their dogs to and all that stuff. So it's, in its way, even though this is a densely packed community, this is an important community resource. This is the Kettle Valley sports fields. Hey, so here I am at my third park of the day. This is Curlew Park. So this park and the previous park and the next few parks I'm going to do all run together with no fences in between them. They feel like one huge park at the center of this community, which is a really neat thing. I know it was done on purpose. So we started with the Kettle Valley sports fields, and now we're kind of at the corner point. And then from here, we're going to head straight up the hillside in a series of hillside parks, which I'm told are some of the best tobogganing in Kelowna. But before we get that, let's talk about Curlew Park. Curlew Park is more than a neighborhood park. This is really a central destination park for this community. And, for the wider city as well, because Curlew Park has one of the city's 3 water parks. You can kind of see the part of the water park there over my right shoulder. This is a beautiful park. It's got the water park. It has a huge adventure playground for children. It has a lowered stormwater retention area that drains the sports fields to the northeast. But what they've done is they've put a tennis court down in that lowered area. So it's not just a big, empty grassy depression that gets wet sometimes. It has, a useful function the rest of the time. So that's great. Historically speaking, you can see the plaque there behind me. I'm standing in the middle of a monument to the 2003 wildfires that burned on the hillside just south of here. So from Okanagan Mountain Park all the way, northeast a ways, they were some really serious fires that took out 200 or so houses, and people had thousands and thousands of people had to be evacuated, and it was a huge thing. It was probably the most serious fire in the city's history because, when that same hillside burned in 1910, almost nobody lived here. When that same hillside burned in 1930, very few people lived here. But now, communities like this have been built on these southern slopes. Even though they're one of the spots that burns the most around here, people want to live out at the edge of town in a planned community like this. So this community actually only lost 5 homes because it was still under development, and between all these streets and the mountainside where the fire was, they had just cleared a bunch of land for a new subdivision. So that created an effective break. And it was just the random fireballs that were lobbed into this community that burned some things. Now, one of the things that did burn was the original playground that was here. Volunteers and people had come together on this parkland to build a wonderful playground for children, and it just burned completely to nothing. So, but of course, it was such a popular thing that they came and they rebuilt a playground right on this spot. So this is Curlew Park. I'm going to head up the hill and see what the next parks look like. So now, just up the hill from Curlew Park, I'm in a park called Tula Park. It's on Google Maps, but it's not listed on the City of Kelowna website, probably because it just looks like it's contiguous with the next few parks, right? So it's not part of my challenge, but since I'm here, just to say a couple things. I was just talking about the fire. So if you look up to the hillside, you can see that even though the fire was 17 years ago now, there's lots of burned trees, lots of open space. So that's looking south. Over farther, you can't really see right now, over there is where the Lebanon Creek Greenway comes up, and farther to the southwest from there is the Johns Family Conservancy, which I'll be going to at some point in this challenge. And over the other way, we would be looking towards Crawford Canyon and Bellevue Creek, but can't really see that from there either. So you can see how the next two parks form a very 18th century style carpet. You can't really see the geometric designs of the trails right now, but you can see how they all string together and provide a core to this community. I also wanted to point out that we are now up on a terrace over the lake, right? So to the southwest of us is Lebanon Creek Ravine. To the northeast of us is the Rembler Creek Ravine, where Chute Lake Road comes up and allows us access to this terrace. So of course from this hillside you can get great views of the lake. So we're looking across now at West Kelowna. So just below that snowy mountain ahead of us is actually Mount Boucherie, which is harder to see because it kind of blends in with the mountain in the back. But that's Mount Boucherie there, and I don't know if you can see it, but in front of us there's a hill with Mission Hill Winery on it. So we can look north, we can see downtown Kelowna and the bridge, we can look south towards Beachland. So the view from here is incredible, and I'll try and show you more if we see better ones as we climb the hill. Hey, so here I am coming to you from my fourth park of the day, Providence Park. So now I'm up at the, well, not the very top, that's next. I'm closer to the top of the long hillside park that runs through the core of this community. So my ground truthing, as they say, suggests that it's all Providence Park, all the way from Kilchena up to Chute Lake Road, which is up the hill in front of me. There's no signs saying Tula Park. You might be able to see over my left shoulder, there's a couple of park signs down there. They both say Providence Park, and they have different addresses. So that may be some source of the confusion. I don't know. But both signs say Providence Park. I think this whole hillside is Providence Park. It's a lovely park to walk. It's a lovely park for the views. It's probably a great place to come in the summer and hang out. You know, it reminds me of linear parks I've seen in Europe. And I think it does its job really well. It allows you to see the view across the lake and gives everyone in town a common shared asset. So I think it's lovely if you want to come for a nice walk. So far this neighborhood's shaping up to be a great one. So definitely check out Providence Park. Hey, so here I am coming to you from my fifth park of the day. This is Mountainside Park. So this is my high point. This is almost at the top of this neighborhood. It was at the top at one point. You say that's Chute Lake Road down behind me. But since then, they've built a couple more neighborhoods above this, all part of the Kettle Valley development. In fact, they've just cleared the land for their final subdivision of Kettle Valley. So they're almost done. It's been 25 years almost. Anyway, is this park called Mountainside because I am now literally up on the side of the mountain? No, it's called Mountainside because over this way is a neighborhood called Mountainside, where they've renamed part of the old Chute Lake Road Mountainside Drive, etc. This is the park that was set aside as part of building the Mountainside neighborhood. So it's a great park. It's, you know, probably the most natural park since it's not really developed. Down at the bottom by Chute Lake Road, there's a plaza with a bench and a couple things, but mostly this is just a switchback trail heading up this hillside to a walkway to my left that leads to Audubon Court. So it is one of the most natural parks I'm going to see today. And it also provides incredible views of the other last couple parks, Providence Park in particular, that we saw, and of course all the way across the lake and everything like that. So there is a lovely hill in front of me, which I would not have hesitated to climb when I was much younger, but I'm going to leave it to this, this trail today and just be happy that I came and saw Mountainside Park. Hey, so here I am in my sixth park of the day. This is Jewel Park. So having left the central axis of this neighborhood, represented by the Kilchena, Providence, Mountainside string of parks, I'm now in a neighborhood park. It's a big rectangular park with a playground in the corner. It's mostly a big green lawn, but I think it's supposed to remind us of, again, 18th century neighborhood parks. You know, parks that were a common place for people to gather, like a green plaza, you know, a remnant of the village commons. So, yes, it's a big lawn, but it's not designated as a sports field. One thing about the new urbanism principles that the planners of this neighborhood were following, that they had to get the city to change the zoning and laws for, was they wanted to have the garages in the back and small front lawns. And if you look across the park on the west side behind me, you can see all those houses. Their front doors and their front yards basically are fronting on this park. There's a very narrow strip of their yard, and there's a sidewalk, and then there's the park. And behind the houses, there's a lane with their garages. So that in that way, the designers succeeded. They've, you know, given these people, if they use the front of their house, I don't know how many of them sit on their porch, but they can look out over this park. They can see their children play. They can see their neighbors. They don't have a noisy place with cars that they're going to want to avoid. So that's interesting to see that all playing out. As you can see behind me, they are lots of old-fashioned houses. I've seen colonial type houses. I've seen neoclassical type inspired houses. I've seen craftsman houses and the old, the Dutch farmhouse style, you know, all sorts of things you would find in New England. But that said, the principles behind it, the density, the communal spirit are really great. And so it's a really fun place to go for a walk. Here I am in Jewel Park. Hey, so here I am coming to you from my 7th park of the day, which, as you can see, is Winslow Park. So this is a really nice park. It's really fun. I don't know if I'm using the term right, but I believe it's a Georgian design, you know, trees, grass, not much else. This park, if you think of the community here, Kettle Valley, the original part especially, is symmetrical with, you know, Providence Park as the center line. Then this park, Winslow Park, occupies the same spot in the pattern that's analogous to Jewel Park. But obviously it's a very different design. Instead of a big open field, we have this lovely path down the middle. We have these iron arches, and we have a lot more trees. All on the west side of the park is alternating pines and larches. I've got this nice plaza that I'm standing in, which has got benches, and it's got some mahonia there on the other side. So it's a very different landscaping expression. So that's really fun to see that kind of a variety, even though it's still, I guess what they want to call a neo-traditionalist design. So not a nature park, you know, not a modernist looking park, but a delightful design. So you want somewhere to come and have a sit and be outside, you could do worse than Winslow Park. Hey, so here I am coming to you for my 8th and final park of the day. This is Main Street Park. So this is a small park, but a central park. Behind me you can see Main Street, and next to it is the Kettle Valley Village Center. So this is you know, the only real commercial zone in the neighborhood, but it is in some ways the heart of the neighborhood. You got your pub, your dental office, medical office, pizzeria, you know, things that people might want in their neighborhood that they can walk to instead of having to drive to town. And then down below them here is this lovely plaza. I mean, that half the park is this lovely plaza. I think, can you see it there? There's a kind of an obelisk. I don't know. Yeah, it is. See, so that's got the cardinal points. It's not a cenotaph. It's just an you know, an obelisk to help people orient themselves. And then ahead of me, the other half of the park is a nice slope and an empty field, and it leads down to the Kettle Valley sports field. So we have come around in, yeah, it ended up being kind of a figure 8, but you know, we've done a loop basically around the neighborhood, and we're almost back to where we started. So this is a nice park. This is a nice plaza. It's got lots of nice places to sit. It's got, you know, real central location. Maybe people can gather here. I'm not sure how many people. They haven't really got in this neighborhood a big paved plaza, you know, where protesters might gather, or I don't know, the community for other reasons. But this is a pretty nice spot. All in all, it's been a well-designed community and a pleasant place to walk. But I'll talk about that more in just a second. There you have it. That was my walk through Kettle Valley. A lovely neighborhood, a well-planned neighborhood, introducing some density through its neo-traditionalism and its new urbanism. A lot of old-fashioned housing style, so if you really love those, this is a place you can find one in that style. Lots of variety. I had a really good time here. Lots of great views of the lake, lots of great views of the mountain. It's a little remote, obviously, like I said, a little car dependent. Pretty much no one who lives here works here, right? Pretty much everyone works in downtown or along the highway or something like that. So everyone has to drive to work and home every day. But while they're here, they have a nice tight community. We saw 8 parks today, which was amazing. Let's see if I can remember them all. We started in Curlew Park and we saw the Kettle Valley sports fields, and that blended into Kelowna Park. And then we went up the hill through Providence Park all the way to Mountainside Park. And then we came down again and visited Jewel Park, Winslow Park, and ended in Main Street Park. So it was all great. They were pretty close together, so it was not hard to hit 8, which is good because I'd fallen a little bit behind my pace and my challenge this winter. So I needed a day like this to help me catch up. I'll go home and do the math and we'll see where we're at. But it's a good one. If you need a nice place to go for a walk and you don't mind driving 20 minutes out of town, Kettle Valley is a great place to go.